Hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot coming at you with another one. The video clips I'm going to show you is about what's going on as of the last day, actually, about what's going on in Chicago and how, once again, the people of Chicago speak their grievances, bring it up to the mayor, to the governor, to their political officials, and yet they just don't listen, as usual. Not only don't they listen, it seems that now Chicago is claiming that they have a budget crisis going on, and it's going to affect people in Chicago even more, in case no one has heard as of the last 24 hours. That's number one. Number two, it seems, I'm sure that everybody last night seen, or at least most of you seen, the presidential debate between Trump and Kamala. It seems as if now MSNBC, of course you know who they are, is over here saying that supposedly Kamala Harris spanked Trump in the debate. I beg to differ, and I'm pretty sure that any and every American with a brain, okay, seen what happened last night and know that, you know what, number one, no, she did not spank Trump. That's number one. Number two, Trump was basically up against three people because the moderators obviously took her side and would not fact check her on a couple of things that she brought up. But that's, you know, that's expected if you think about who was moderating. It's not like they'll get, you know, somebody from the left and the right to moderate. It's usually lefties from the deep state that they're going to use. But yeah, that's exactly what, you know, they're trying to say, and making it seem as if Kamala has been doing such a great job in America. But after I show you that clip, I'm just going to throw in something that has to deal with her border policies, okay? So like that, when anybody watches this video, especially you lefties out there that love to think that Kamala walks on water, you think that she's doing such a great job. Well, stick along for the video, and I'll show you how much of a great job she's done, okay? And it's just going to be just a small segment of her so-called achievements, okay? But before we continue, I just want to thank all my new subscribers and all my subscribers here on YouTube and on Rumble. So don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. And if you can help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App and merch store. And also, I'll be leaving the link once again for Loza Alexander's Gifts and Go campaign. I know I kept saying GoFundMe. I was confused. I was looking at it. I was putting down Gifts and Go and GoFundMe inside the description, but there's a link in there if you guys can help him. Even if you leave words of encouragement and some prayers for him, it's all greatly appreciated. So we're going to start this off with a video that came out on the news about what's going on with the illegal migrants in Chicago. Here we go.
Chicago is making adjustments to its shelter system for new arrivals.
The city, along with the state of Illinois and Cook County, have a strategic plan in place for 2024 to ensure...
Now, let me cut it real quick. You heard what they said, that they're getting ready. I'll play it once again so you can hear these words, and keep these words in your head as we go.
The city, along with the state of Illinois and Cook County, have a
Chicago is making adjustments to its shelter system for new arrivals.
The city, along with the state of Illinois and...
Making adjustments to its shelter system for new arrivals. Keep that in mind, okay? Keep that in mind. Let's continue.
Cook County have a strategic plan in place for 2024 to ensure that everybody who needs a bed has one. Tia Ewing is standing by with the details. Tia.
Well, Scott and Dawn, the migrant shelters will close up in October, and the city says this comes at a time when they already have about 5,000 beds that are going unused. What you are looking at in front of the lens, people in survival mode. Behind the lens, a migrant mother from Venezuela describing limited food resources inside the shelter in the 2200 block of Halsted Street. It's now one of 3 shelters slated to close. At one point, this year, Chicago was caring for more than 12,000 migrants spanning across 24 shelters.
We have continued busing migrants to sanctuary cities across the entire country. And those buses will continue to roll until we finally secure our border.
That's Texas Governor Greg Abbott back in July, promising that more buses would roll through Chicago ahead of the Democratic National Convention. It didn't materialize because of the Biden administration's executive order limiting asylum seekers' crossings to 2,500 per day. On October 1st, the shelter on Halsted will close, along with this one on Ogden. When it opened, it was the center of debate because it was converted from office space into a temporary shelter for migrants.
All of the migrants that have been placed here illegally and on Walnut be relocated immediately.
Another shelter shrouded in controversy.
I don't want them there.
The Lakeshore shelter will close October 24th. In total, that leaves 3,030 beds empty. Chicago officials tell us everyone impacted will be relocated to other shelters. Just days ago, during Chicago's Joint Committee on Immigration and Refugee Rights, Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez spoke about the 3% tax on the city's wealthiest residents to fund migrant services on the ballot in a November referendum.
We have 120,000 millionaires who live in the city of Chicago who can pay the fair share, and there are solutions so that we can do both. Care for new neighbors as well as the current neighbors.
Okay. Now, I'm going to let the last few seconds play, but if anybody remembers, I played a video with this guy spewing this, oh man, this, it is just disgusting the way this man, his attitude about how now they have to go and tax millionaires in Chicago as if it's a right that they need to do it. I mean, you could just hear it in his voice, okay, that the man really thinks that these illegals that come in, they are deserved of being taken care of, making it seem as if, damn it, this is what we're going to do, this is how it's going to be, and there's nothing you can say about it, so deal with it, okay? These are the choices we make, and you got to live with it. You know, it's just so... And I'm not even explaining exactly how I truly feel about the way this man is expressing himself. I can't find the words to put together, okay? Because I just think that this man is, I think he's pathetic, okay? I think he's pathetic. I think he's a traitor to this country. I think that, in all honesty, that maybe his citizenship should be stripped because he's obviously not American born, okay? But I said it before, I have a problem, and I think that a lot of people should have the same problem. When you have people coming from other countries and they wind up getting into political power, okay, and they wind up ending up in situations like this. And this is why I said in my other video, do not be complacent on the small, whatchamacallit, campaigns, okay? Do not be complacent on the small voting, because obviously this man was voted in, and it probably didn't take that many people to vote him in, okay? But just like AOC, you wind up getting a guy like this. I'll keep putting my thoughts into it. Let's listen to the last seconds over here.
The current neighbors.
Well, the city says it will continue to monitor the migrant population here in Chicago and can adjust the shelter plans if necessary. Live.
Okay, and I'll leave it at that. So you heard all that, okay? Now, remember what I told you, what I said to listen to in the beginning of the video, okay? How they're going to make adjustments. Because obviously, for some odd reason, they cannot just leave these people in place, okay, where they're at now. No, they're going to move them and move them to other places. Why? I have no idea. Well, I have one idea, okay? Excuse me. And in my opinion, this is what I think it is. I think that the people that they paid off, the property owners, the landlords, only took a certain amount of money for a certain amount of time, okay? And now, since that money was already paid for, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, whatever the case is, now they need to move them because that's the way they launder the money. In other words, if they keep them in the same place for the next year, it gives people an easier, it gives them more access to investigate, okay, when all you got to do is keep bouncing them around And then you'd have to investigate the people to those buildings that own it, the people that own the next buildings, and so on and so on and so on. So now it becomes a giant paper trail where so much work has to be put into it in order to find the receipts that it'll take forever to try to find out how this money is being spent. That's just my opinion. If anybody could understand what I'm saying, okay? So you heard it right here, okay? This is what's going on with the migrants. But now, you heard what the man said, that we're going to wind up, we pass a bill to tax 153,000 millionaires in Chicago. We can take care of our neighbors, okay? And the citizens of Chicago. We can do both. Okay. But now here's the thing. The next video that I'm going to show you, okay, is to remind everyone that these politicians are basically full of shit. Okay? Because for as much as the citizens of Chicago complain and keep telling their grievances and keep telling them we don't want this, they keep doing it. But who winds up losing in the end? The citizens of Chicago. So this video came out a day ago, or 19 hours ago, something like that, nearly a day ago. The next video actually came out, if I'm doing the timeline right, came out before this. Okay? And I'll show it to you. Pay attention to this. Here we go. Okay, so this video came out a day ago. The other one came out 19 hours ago. Pretty much the same, but this one came out about 5, 6, maybe 7 hours before that. You know, they keep finding ways to help out the illegals in Chicago. But who suffers? Okay? It's the taxpayers, the citizens of Chicago. Listen to this news clip.
City of Chicago has implemented hiring freeze.
Yeah, the move comes as the city tries to reckon a massive budget shortfall, and WGN's Brona Tumulty is joining us with the details tonight.
Good evening, guys. Yeah, the mayor's put a hold on hiring, attributing that measure to things like rising labour costs, a decrease in revenue from state corporate taxes, and high costs for city pensions. In times gone past, a freeze like this did not include public safety jobs, but that's the order that's come down due to an almost $1 billion deficit for the coming fiscal year.
For us, the message that I have is this is, a year of very hard decisions.
The City of Chicago is putting the kibosh on filling any open positions. Non-essential travel is also out the window, and overtime is set to be slashed.
Hiring freezes are definitely something that we are exploring.
That conversation with Budget Director Annette Guzman happened last week. The freeze becoming reality today due to being severely in the red. The city's projected budget deficit for this fiscal year stands at around $223 million. But for next...
Okay, let me stop it real quick. You heard what they said. For this year, it stands at $223 million. The video that I put out, Chicago has already spent $253 million. On housing 6,000 illegals. So not only are they moving illegals from shelters to put them in other shelters, which is going to cost the taxpayers more money, they are saying they don't have enough money in the budget, okay, to take care of the city. Okay? And look at what they're doing. That's going to put more strain on the city, more strain on the population, more strain on people being taken care of and being able to be protected. Here we go.
Next year, it balloons to almost $1 billion.
We have new contracts that came into place last year with CPD, and we're in the midst of negotiations with the Chicago Fire Department.
It's really unusual to have a hiring freeze that goes across the board, including essential services, emergency services.
Police and fire departments are usually exempt from mandates like this, with Pat Cleary, president of Chicago Firefighters Union Local 2, telling WGN tonight this means, for example, the city's overworked paramedics already on mandatory rehire will be forced to work even more. But Mayor Brandon Johnson ran a campaign against hiking property taxes taxes, which Civic Federation President Joe Ferguson says wouldn't fly anyway with Chicagoans.
People are seldom receptive to taxes except for really good causes. The cause here is having failed to do our homework in the past.
He tells us the budget problems are a can that's been kicked down the road all too often.
Utilization of the word crisis is an important one here.
Guzman, to help close the gap, says they'll be looking at city programs and services that can be eliminated along.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, maybe the city services and programs that could be eliminated is maybe rounding up all the illegals and sending them back to stop spending the taxpayer money on them. Not putting a strain, okay, on the police department, the fire department, EMS. Now, I don't even know what that mandatory rehire means, okay? But it's like you're taking hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, and spending it on people that did not put it into the coffers, that have come here illegally. And all that money, which, if I had to guess, was already probably allocated for these services, but no, they took it and decided to give it to somebody else. And once again, the people of Chicago will suffer, because you're going to have cops, fire department, EMS working overtime, stressing them out, okay, fatiguing their lives, while the illegals, you know, get a bed, food stamps, whatever the case is. And this is all because Brandon Johnson, Biden, Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Eric Adams, Kathy Hochul, Governor and Mayor of Chicago. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, because this is what they wanted. To take from their constituents that voted for them, give it to others as if they're so pious, okay, because their thing is, where's the humanity? So once again, my question is, where is the humanity? Where's the humanity for the people in Chicago that have been coming to you, telling you to stop, and now you're going to take more away from them, while you're scrambling to find room and shelter for the illegal immigrants? Let's continue.
With new means to capture revenue. Ferguson adding he hopes going forward, city council members will keep their collective foot on the gas.
The city council needs to be critically involved, asking the hard questions so that the public sees that really the administration is being put through the paces.
Now it seems as if a job offer has already been extended. That hire can likely move forward, but as of today, it is a freeze across the board.
And what good is bringing any of this up to the city council? The people of Chicago keep going to the city councils, and like I said, they keep complaining to them, they keep airing their grievances, they keep demanding stuff. They don't listen. They do not listen. Okay? So now, the people of Chicago have to expect that, and I pray to God a miracle happens. Okay? Because if these civil services are being spread thin, what's going to happen now? How much more thin can the police department, fire department, and EMS be stretched? You know, if anything, those three services right there for any city, any state, should always be probably one of the top 5 priorities, if not one of the top 3, because you need to make sure that those people are always replenished, that they have enough time with their families, that they're not too stressed out, that they can do their job, that they're paid well, because they put their lives on the line every single day that they go to work. They put their lives on the line. But no. Joe Biden could send the jackboots to go and cordon off the DNC, spend all that money. Remember, I did a video on that. It was, what was it? $70-something million or something like that to keep all the protesters away, all the people away from Chicago that had a grievance. Money, okay, taxpayer money, so they don't look bad, even though, I mean, they look bad no matter what. But now, Brandon Johnson, once again, is finding ways to take away from the American taxpayers in Chicago, give it to the illegal migrants, and basically tell everybody, thank you for your vote, now shut the hell up and get to the back of the bus. Sorry, people, I gotta say it like that, because that's what it feels like. And I don't even live in Chicago, okay? But I could only imagine what the people in Chicago are going through. I could only imagine what they're going to go through now, okay? It's horrible and it's disgusting. But for sake of time, I'm going to play the next clip, and then we'll take it from there. And we'll see how supposedly the debate went last night. Because, you know, the lefties are out there claiming that Kamala spanked Trump's ass. Here we go.
Vice President Kamala Harris, from the moment she took the stage, walking straight up to Donald Trump and introducing herself and insisting on shaking his hand, set the tone for her control of the room for the next 90 minutes. What would prove to be a powerful reminder that Donald Trump, who had 7 prior presidential debates under his belt, was immediately outmatched by Vice President Harris's talent and prosecutorial skills.
And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States. And world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace.
Okay, and I'm gonna leave it right. I'm gonna leave it just like that. It's a long segment. I'm not even gonna listen because it's enough to make somebody want to puke. Okay. You heard what she said. Okay, this is when she was trying to push herself, and it was like I said. If anybody watched the debate, I watched it. She pretty much lost. As a matter of fact, in the very beginning of the debate, for the first like 10, 20 minutes, this woman, I could have sworn I seen this woman turn green, like she wanted to puke. Okay. With all the fear that this woman had and anxiety she had inside of her. But that's just my opinion. But you heard her come out and say that Donald Trump is a disgrace. A disgrace. Those were her words, not mine. You heard it. Okay? Now, the next video that I'm going to show you came out yesterday. And I believe it might have came out the day before. I guess they put it out yesterday by Forbes. And she's over here saying that Donald Trump is a disgrace. Okay? The past 6 weeks, Biden and Harris decided to start closing the border. Okay? Which they're still letting about 5,000 people through the border every single day, basically. Okay? Which is not closed, which is the border is not closed. But she called him a disgrace. Okay? Let me put the next video on. Here we go. Okay, this video that I'm going to put on, and like I said, I hope that the lefties that watch my channel, because a few of them do, and they wind up leaving some comments. I hope you're watching this. Your knight in shining armor, Kamala, just called the ex-president of the United States a disgrace. Okay? This was put out, okay, by Forbes, Representative Harriet Hagman. Okay? Now, if any, actually, I take that back. Hold on one second. This was put out by her channel, not Forbes. Forgive me. Representative Harriet Hagman, okay, who is, okay, by your standards, a woman of color. Okay? Now, if Kamala thinks that Trump is a disgrace, And if anybody watched the debate last night, and if anybody's been paying attention, any of you lefties in Chicago, I wonder if she's going to go in front of all these people right here, and you're going to hear their stories, and say the same thing to them, because all these stories that happen, from what I know so far, happen on Biden and Harris's watch. Okay? So fair warning, people, this video is about 9.5 minutes. I'm going to try to keep my commentary to a minimum just for sake of time. Pay attention, people. Here we go.
Thank you. There's a couple of statements that I'd like to make, and then I would like to give you an opportunity to make a statement about why you're here and give voice to the victims that you are representing here so beautifully. First of all, the Senate bill is not a border hardening bill, as you have pointed out. In fact, it would allow a minimum of 5,000 illegals to cross the border every single day without any enforcement whatsoever. I come from the state of Wyoming, and under a bill that has been proposed by the Senate, every 2 weeks we would have a minimum of 70,000 people crossing the border. That's more than the entire population of the largest city in the state of Wyoming. So I agree with you, that is not a border security bill. There's also been a comment made that we're not here talking about any particular bill, but that's not actually true. In fact, this week I am leading a bipartisan coalition of House members to introduce what's called the Fight Illicit Pill Presses Act. A bill which requires serial numbers for pill presses and prescribes penalties for tampering with pill presses. These pill presses are one of the methods by which traffickers are disguising lethal doses of fentanyl to look like other pills, and this bill will help law enforcement better track and punish those responsible for distributing these pills into the country. So we are working at trying to find a solution. You know, I have listened to your stories today. I have watched your body language. I have watched as you have engaged with various members of this committee. And I think what I'd really like to do is give you the opportunity with each one of you who have suffered these terrible tragedies because of the crimes of illegal aliens. I'd like to give you just a few minutes to describe your family member and what is the message that you would give to the Biden, Harris, and Mayorkas administration. Ms. Nungary, I'm going to start with you.
Well, my daughter was definitely...
Just a quick note. This first woman, if anybody remembers, a month ago, 2 months ago, her 14-year-old daughter, 15-year-old daughter, was raped and murdered, okay, by 2 illegal immigrants, okay? One of them had a ankle monitor, okay? They knew that he was a criminal. They let him roam the streets. As a matter of fact, he was arrested before that for crimes. Not even an hour after those 2 men encountered her daughter, okay, they walked with her over an overpass like a bridge. They brutally raped her and beat her and killed her and dumped her body in the water. Okay? And yet Kamala Harris calls Donald Trump a disgrace. Let's continue.
Her own personality. She wasn't like any other child. She was spunky, quirky, was an amazing friend. I've had the pleasure of hugging so many of them because they just miss her so much. She had a love for animals. Her dream was to save every stray animal and take care of them. She didn't want any animals to be left out in the streets without a home. She was a kid, a preteen, a few months shy of being a teenager, doing what teenagers do. We've all been there, and I wasn't expecting to wake up and not find my daughter, and I really wasn't expecting to not find her and to realize she was never going to come home again.
She won't be forgotten.
Thank you.
She won't be forgotten.
We need better security. We need to make sure we are looking into who we're letting in. They were both reprehended and released the same exact days for both of them. And the last one was not even 3 weeks, and it took my daughter's life. They took my daughter's life, and because of these policies we have in place, it's the pain and the trauma is irreversible. So now I'm here to advocate for her, and as much as I am not a public speaker, I am standing strong and facing my fears for Jocelyn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Moran.
Thank you. Rachel was tiny little girl. She was probably 5 feet. She always said 5'2", but we knew she was 5 feet. She was feisty. She was like a little spitfire. She was actually born with orange hair, very red, but she didn't like her red hair too much, so she always bleached it blonde. She was very active. She loved her children. She had a very bad stammering problem. And as a child, she was bullied a lot because of her speech. And so I told her a story when she was a little girl, and I said, you know that there was another person that was very famous, and he had a stammering problem. And I told her the story of Moses. And I told her that God gives special people special gifts because it makes them stronger. So she looked at it not as an impediment, as a handicap. She looked at it as that was her strength. And so she went out of her way to be outgoing and to choose jobs like a hostess at a restaurant where she put herself in the public way to speak. She ended up making so many friends. I think when we had the walk, there was over 2,000 people that came out for her walk the first time. She also was very compassionate and kind towards others because she knew what it was like to be bullied. And so she accepted people for the way they were. And I'm here today to speak about her, but also to speak about all the women that are attacked but aren't killed. Because I've done some speaking, I have a lot of ladies that come up to me in the areas that I've traveled, and they'll tell me that where they've been attacked, and someone will come up from behind them and try to put them in a, chokehold, and they will fight to get away. And one person in particular said that she was able to get away from this particular man, went to the police to report it, and it turned out that the man had attacked 7 of the women.
Oh my.
But nobody hears these stories.
Are you lefties paying attention? Are you lefties paying attention? You want to vote for a woman who says that she believes in women's rights when it comes to abortion? But on her watch, she has let in so many illegal alien criminals, rapists, and murderers. They're not asking these women how they vote. They're not. They're attacking them from behind. They're just attacking them. They're attacking them by 2s, by 3s, young girls, little women. And yet Kamala Harris has the nerve to call Donald Trump a disgrace. Let's continue.
Because there's not a dead person, or maybe the crime hasn't been fully committed. And so there are still crimes that are going on far larger than we expect that are being unreported. And so I really want Rachel's life to make a difference. And I really want and hope that you take into consideration what we're saying, because we want to save lives. And it's not about politics. It's not about if you're a Republican or if you're a Democrat. It's about being American, protecting our families. And the only way we're going to do that and have this really be a land of opportunity for both the American citizen and for the immigrant that wants to come in is to do it legally and to have people vetted before they come into our country. We should be protecting ourselves.
The time of the gentlelady's expired, but we'll let Ms. Funder and Ms. Nobles give a quick response, if you could, to the gentlelady's question, and then we have 2 more members to question.
The Biden-Harris administration is doing nothing, and there's the fentanyl problem is such an issue. It's pouring over our borders. It's killing more people in America, more young people in America than any other ailment in this country. And it's killing children. And it is, nothing's being done about it. And there's no excuse, there's no reason why we're not doing something. 300,000 Americans have died on our soil. I've said it so many times. And it's a war on our soil, and nothing is being done. Why aren't we securing the borders? Why aren't we going after the cartels? Why aren't we telling China, like, shut down your factories, this is not okay? Why isn't fentanyl, aside from Schedule 1, it's a weapon of mass destruction. The things that could be done with fentanyl is, it's insanity that they will not shut the borders down. It's killing our children, and it's killing more children and more people in this country than anything else right now. It is an epidemic, and it needs to be.
But yet, the Democrats keep saying that guns are the #1 killer of children in America, which has been debunked, okay, many times over. But they keep saying that. Real facts have come out about the overdoses on fentanyl, okay? The illegal fentanyl that's coming from across the border. Yeah, Kamala Harris calls Donald Trump a disgrace. The Democrats called him way worse words than that because he wanted to shut down the border. Because he was trying to stop the criminals from coming through the border. Okay? The drugs being brought through the border. But yet MSNBC says that Kamala Harris whooped Donald Trump's ass last night.
Dealt with, and there's no excuse why they haven't done anything.
Ms. Nobles, if you could briefly give a brief response, that'd be.
I believe that the Biden-Harris administration is responsible. Kayla's murderer came over as a UAC, unoccupied alien child, saying that he was scared of gang activity in his country, knowing that he was an MS-13 gang member.
Mm-hmm.
Kayla was a very loving, happy girl. She loved the home. She wanted to help the homeless. She loved animals. She worked so hard to become independent with having autism. She could live on her own. I made sure she could live on her own. I would never have let her live on her own if I knew she couldn't do it. She worked so hard to overcome all the obstacles in her life, and this monster just ripped her life out.
And I'm gonna leave it at that because it's almost ending anyway. If nobody knows this story, if I remember the story correctly, she had gotten a place, her daughter, okay, and the guy that killed her was you heard what she said, MS-13 gang member. They came over here saying that he was in fear of his life, and I believe that he wound up being her roommate, okay, or she had a roommate and it was the roommate's friend, something to that effect. But the girl opened up her doors, and that wasn't good enough. He killed her, okay? The Biden administration, Kamala Harris, who is or was supposed to be the border czar, let this happen. Now, this is the only clip they put out, but there's other women on this panel that will talk. There are people all over the country. As a matter of fact, I said it in a video months ago. In Arkansas, a friend of mine was killed by an 18-year-old illegal immigrant. Caused a major accident, doing over 100 miles an hour on a 35. And they arrested him. Actually, they didn't even arrest him. Okay? They took his report from the hospital. Him and his girlfriend walked away with barely a scratch, and he dipped. And to this day, a year and a half ago, To this day, they don't know where he's at. And the story gets more complicated than that, more heartbreaking than that, but I'm going to just leave it at that. And no, this is not some made up bullshit. This is the truth. But all you lefties out there want to have your damn kumbaya moment. Okay? You let in all these illegals. Come to find out yesterday, Ohio has actually taken in, what was it they said? 100, I believe they said the actual number was 150,000 Haitians that they let into the country, and most of them have gone into Ohio. They took 20,000 of them and put them in a town in Ohio that only has like 58,000 people. Okay? And they're causing havoc. Now, I know you're going to turn around and say this is Greg Abbott's fault. No, it's not. What did you expect? That Texas was going to absorb 10, 12, 20 million illegal migrants? And inside of that, all the drug dealers, all the rapists, all the murderers, all that? No. Kamala Harris, MSNBC came out and said that Kamala Harris took control of the debate, basically like she won the whole thing. She got on stage and looked at Donald Trump and called him a disgrace. This didn't happen on Trump's watch. This is not still happening on Trump's watch. This is happening right now. It happened on their watch and it's still happening. But yet, during the debate last night, Donald Trump said, and he said it twice, you want to prove to the people you care? We can end this debate right now. Go down to the White House. You can call everybody up, wake them up if they're sleeping, and tell them that we are going to pass a bill right now. You are going to make an executive order or Joe Biden to shut down the border. And he said, but you won't do that. So while the Democrats have all you lefties thinking that, oh, everything has to be a bill that has to be passed by Congress, this, and that, yada, 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 this is how small your fucking brains are. Because when he went and took executive order to shut the border down, you bitched at him. You called him a racist. He was within his rights to do it. But will Joe Biden do it? No. Has Kamala Harris been in his ear to tell him to do it? No. She's in charge of the border. She could have easily said, hey, Joe, we did it. Or this time, hey, Joe, this is what we got to do. But they won't do it. Who's the disgrace now? Look at what's happening in Chicago, Colorado, California, New York, Pennsylvania, Oregon, Seattle, South Carolina, Baltimore, Maryland. I put in the video last night the link. 161 sexual offenders as of today, this year, as of today, apprehended, all illegal. 161. That on the video, the latest victim was a 14-year-old. Once again, they didn't ask if they were Democrat or Republican. They're not going to ask. Criminals don't care about stuff like that. Okay? Criminals only see victims. But apparently, you Democrats and you rhinos, you don't see victims. You see money and you see votes. Who's the disgrace now? Anyway, that's what I got for you. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. If you can help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App and my merch store. And I'll leave a link to Loza Alexander's GoFundMe campaign. If you guys can help him out, even if you leave him words of encouragement and prayer. So remember, people, stay vigilant. Keep praying for each other. Keep praying for the women and the children. Keep praying for this country. Pray for your enemies. Pray for Donald Trump. And don't forget to vote. Peace.